In today's episode, we're taking a look at 10 Wickets, a cricket bluffing game. I would say loosely based in cricket. If you're a cricket fan, you're absolutely going to love the theme because the scoring and how the game works is around cricket. If you're just into board games, not really into the cricket side, the mechanics of it work really well. It works for such a compact game. There's only a few decks, a few tokens. There's a lot of decisions, there's a lot of tactical decisions, there's a lot of bidding and sort of choosing your moments at the right time. I think you're going to enjoy this game, but let's get into how it works. I should say some of this stuff is a preview, so some of the things will change, like the wicket card art is going to change slightly, the tokens are slightly bigger, there's more scorecards. So some of the components are being upgraded and changed, however the game is the same. So let's take a look how it plays. These are going to be your wicket cards, so you're going to give them a good shuffle and deal 6 of these to each player. On here is going to be numbers, and these are going to be what you use to bid. Now ideally you want to win with lower bids, as this is how many runs your opponent is going to score for that wicket. So if you know anything about cricket, you don't want them to get a high score, you want to keep them a low score before you take their wicket. At the end of the game, the lower the opponent's score, the better. So let's quickly just play out a round here. I will deal 6 to myself and 6 to me again. Once they're to the side, we're going to take the actual batsmen themselves, just give them a quick shuffle up, and you're going to deal them out like so. Right, so as you can see here, they've all got numbers on the bottom. I'll do it this way just so it's easier for you guys, as that is the point of this video. You're then going to take a random batsman from the top of the pile and deal it to each. In this case, we've got a few all-rounders and a tail ender. So the number here designates the lowest bid you can have. So for example, if this is our hand, we could use this 20 here to bid here. Okay, we've got a pretty good hand. So for this example, we couldn't use this 12 here as it needs to be 20 or higher, which is where these things come into play. We will get into those, but let's talk about a few actions you can take on your turn. So for example, here is our hand. Let's say we don't want the 12. Our options are, we can discard a card and draw 2. So those 2 will be from the wicket deck as we saw before. They go into our hand, then it would pass to our opponent. Alternatively, we could take 1 card from the wicket deck, and then we could also take 1 of these. Now these reduce the totals by 10. So for example, if we played 1 here, we would only need a 10 from our hand, 10 or higher, I should say. So for example, this 13 would work in that case. When you use one of these, just put it onto there. Rather than tell you, why don't I show you? It just goes onto the batsman. Another option, if you're winning, you can claim a wicket. So for example, if we claim this wicket, our opponent would score 13 runs. We would take the tail ender, would lose that token. Tail ender would go over to us. As you can see here, you can only have so many of each type. There are ways you can get more, but you don't want more. If you have more than you should have, then you start to add on runs, but we'll get into that shortly. So we take the tail ender. Once you've taken your batsman, flip the card over, and you're going to grab a new batsman card from the deck and place that there. Now this is going to be a lot more difficult to get, obviously a much better batsman. However, these do work slightly differently. So if this had a -10 on it and it was 45 to play, we could pay a 54. Let's say our opponent played a 60. We could then play 43 to add on to our 54. So any bids are added together. However, you probably wouldn't want to play the 43 because that would be a total of 97 runs they would score. So you want to try and take it up slowly as possible. So in this case, up to 63 just to beat our opponent. And that is some of the tactics in this game. Slowly bidding up, try not to overspend on runs where you can, and take those easy wickets. If you're ever winning 2 wickets at a time, like we are in this scenario, and it becomes our turn, we must claim one of these wickets. It's not an option, it's compulsory. And if you would take an extra middle order, so let's say you've already taken 4, you would actually take the 5th, but you would then take these runs and add them onto your previous wicket. So not only would they not count for a wicket, they would add more runs for your opponent. So you need to be careful sort of when you take wickets and when you bid up wickets. Like in this scenario, we could get stuck with an extra middle order, which would not be good. Obviously, we could just take the tail ender as we are in the lead, but if you have 2, you must take 1. And if you do take 1, you could end up with more batsmen than you need. Now on your turn, your other action, your other option is alter bid. So instead of bidding, you can actually alter one. Now what you would do here is, in this example, we've got a 54, their bid 39, and the total here, lowest bid, can be 35. So as long as we remain winning, so we need to be higher than 39 in this case, we can alter our bid. So we lower to 41, which means we're still winning, but it means they score less runs if we then take this wicket. So alter is an option if you don't want to bid, if you don't want to draw more cards. There are other options to sort of lower the runs as you've played them and sort of go back on those turns where you've played cards. I think this is another big part of the tactics for me. You need to know when to alter, when to take wickets, when to get more cards. And it's this ever evolving game that you need to stay on top of all of these things as you play, as you could slowly fall behind. However, let's say we claim that tail ender. Our opponent would take the 13 and they would make a note, their first batsman was out for 13. At the end, they're going to total that up and whoever has the highest is going to win. So you do really want to try and take wickets easily for lower points, but it's going to be difficult working against your opponent. Also, because of the tail ender, we would go to here and tick one off. In this case, when you lose a tail ender, cross off the lowest visible bonus on your score sheet. So in this case, none of us have been crossed off, so it would be the 15. Let's, for example, say the other player played a 54, they've lost their mind, they are trying everything they can. So this 54 is going to be written on our sheet as our opponent's taken it. They're going to take an all-rounder. We are then going to look on here at our all-rounders and cross off the topmost bonus. So in this case, it's the 15 plus a card. So basically, at the end of the game, they would shuffle up their hand, take any bids from the table and shuffle them in as well. And then we would draw one at random. So add 15 to 10. So in this case, 25 runs, and that would get added to our sheet. And this would continue depending how many wickets behind we were. It's just a way to add up score if you don't manage to finish yours. Because as soon as someone scores 10 wickets, or takes 10 wickets, I should say, the game ends. Now, if we ever did that and we had 8 cards in our hand, the following turn, we wouldn't be able to draw more, as you can never have more than 8 cards. So in this case, we would have to start to play some of these. So we'd have to start to bid on stuff. And if you're not careful, and let's say we were stuck here, let's say we didn't have anything low enough to play. So you need to be really careful. So if we didn't have such low numbers here, we could get stuck playing like a 54 or one of the higher numbers, 13s or the 18s, which you don't really want to play. So it is very much about managing your hand as well as the field as you make bids. There's no better way than learning than actually playing. So let's play out a hand here. Let's say we are the first player, as we were the last one to watch cricket. As you see on the table, we've got some good options here. So we've got some low options. So we could play this 12 here, and then it will be over to our opponent. Let's take a look at the opponent's hand. Now, they could play 9 here. That would mean they're very close to doing that. By doing that though, that does mean this player can score this wicket for 12. So perhaps we don't want to do that. Let's play 14 here and slightly beat them out. And let's see what the other player has now. They could potentially add 21 here, but that's going to 33, which is kind of risky. I think they're going to play a 10 here and hopefully take that next turn. It would then go back to the next player. But obviously, as you play cards, you are running low. So you need to sort of manage playing cards and drawing cards, else you're really going to struggle in this game. In this example, I think we want to throw the 43 away and draw 2 cards. We've got a 6 and an 11, which would be perfect, but obviously we can't play a card after drawing, so it goes back to our opponent. Our opponent's going to look at their hand. They don't really want to play anything here. They are going to claim a wicket. So 10 runs, this wicket, the all-rounder goes over to us. The 10 wickets is scored by our opponent, so that would go onto their sheet in the first position. They would also cross off the highest most, that was an all-rounder. So in this case, the all-rounder would be crossed off here. Now this would then be replaced, so this would just flip over. Like I say, just add another batsman face down underneath, and you're ready to go again. It would pass back to the next player, which in this case, they can claim this for 14. Not quite as good as the other wicket, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So this would be claimed. 14 would then go onto the other player's sheet, so they would lose, grab it over here. They would lose their first wicket, 14 in this place, the other player would have 10. So they'd technically be in the lead. In this case, it's another all-rounder, so we would cross off the topmost and we would just work through like that. When a player takes their 10th wicket, the game ends, and any not out, so let's say player 1 finishes their 10th wicket and player 2 only has 8. They would look down here and see what's not crossed off, and they would go for the lowest visible ones and work their way up. And they would just fill in the slots they haven't got. So in this example, we could fill in 15 into 9, and we could do 20 into 10. So it's just a way to fill in those slots, whether or no runs scored, just to add up those numbers and find out who is the winner of 10 wickets. That is 10 wickets. It's a quick-paced bidding game. I think there's a lot to love if you're a cricket fan. As I say, the theme of the scoring really leans heavily on that. If you're not, I think the tactics of the bidding and hand management and drawing cards when you need them, thinking a few turns ahead, is going to appeal to a lot of people. That's what me and my girlfriend really enjoy about it. I mean, the theme does interest me as well. As I say, I am quite into cricket, especially club cricket, which just feels like, for some reason, I think it's the scoring side of it. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the hand management, the betting, the art. I think altogether it's come together really well. A lot of stuff to like about this one. Let me know in the comments what you think. That's all I've got for this episode though, so I will catch you in the next one.